To go until the presidential elections in the United States, and it was a weekend of intense campaigning for both candidates. Presidential candidates started to make their last pitches to the American people and those undecided voters. The campaigns are urging supporters to cast their ballots early, a record which has already been broken. The speeches given by candidates and their surrogates are directly or indirectly targeting those undecided voters.
With your vote in this election, I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals into our country, and I will bring back the American dream. We're going to bring it back. And this is all you really need to know. They broke it, and I'll fix it. We're going to fix it, and we're going to fix it fast.
You're going to say, Kamala, you're no good. You did a lousy job. You destroyed San Francisco. You destroyed California. You destroyed everything you touched. You're not going to destroy our nation. Kamala Harris, you're fired.
That was, of course, former President Donald Trump starting to make his closing arguments at New York's iconic Madison Square Garden on Sunday night. The venue was packed with supporters wearing the classic red hat. Former First Lady Melania Trump made a surprise appearance at the event and introduced her husband as, quote, the next commander-in-chief.
Please welcome our next commander-in-chief, my husband, President Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much to a very popular former First Lady, hopefully First Lady again.
Harris plans her own closing arguments from a symbolic spot on Tuesday, the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. Early voting explains why Harris will make her closing arguments a full week ahead of Election Day. With that rally in Washington that we told you about, the symbolism will be acute since it's the site of former President Donald Trump's infamous gathering on January 6, 2021, after which a mob smashed into the U.S. Capitol to try to subvert the certification of President Joe Biden's election victory. All right, for more on this, we are now being joined from Finland by Joshua Wilson, Fulbright Finland professor at the University of Helsinki. Thank you so much for joining us on WION. How do you see the recent change in tone of both the candidates, with the former president making his attacks sharper, while Harris increasingly questioning Trump's age and competence and making those announcements just last week about how the former president is a dictator?
Yeah, so, well, first, thank you for having me on. I see more of a change with the Harris campaign than with the Trump campaign. Trump has definitely been hitting these negative notes for quite a long time, of course, stressing issues around immigration and fear and so forth. But we see more of a shift on the Democratic side, where if we rewind to the Democratic National Convention, that was really all about positivity and, being happy warriors and so forth. So it was a very positive campaign. But much more recently, there has been an emphasis on kind of the threat that the Democratic Party is showing that a second Trump presidency stands to have. And so we're seeing much darker tones on that side. And I think there's two things really that we can say are driving that. One of them is, of course, we have former officials who worked with Trump when he was president in 2016 coming out and saying, particularly in a New York Times interview, that Trump matches the definition, the literal dictionary definition of a fascist. And so that's coming out, right, and helping drive this. We also see it, though, as fitting with a much longer line of argument in the Democratic Party about how Donald Trump stands to be a threat to democracy and institutions in the U.S. And so that's really ramping up here in the end. The other thing that I would point to is with both of them is the real effect of negative partisanship in the U.S. And so that's motivating voters to vote for you less because they support you or your party, but more because they fear or dislike the other option. And so using that as a means to try to drive voter turnout.
Yeah, truly interesting. I guess they thought that it worked during the last presidential election and also during the midterms. So here we are again with the rhetoric. What about the polls? Both sides we see are so neck and neck despite having such different ideologies and pitches to the American people. How do you read these polls?
No, so the polls are incredibly close, and they've been incredibly close this whole time, with neither candidate able to break out of the margin of error. And so that is just really stressing how close this race is and how much any little shift might really matter significantly in the outcome of the election. And so I'd add on top of that too, right? If we go back to 2016, there was a lot of faith in the polls suggesting that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And of course, she didn't. Trump won. And so I don't think anybody wants to go too far, basically looking into polling. But the bigger thing to notice here is just that neither candidate can break out of the margin of error. And so we don't really have certainty in the really close states of who's likely to win.
Yeah, no predictions. No one dares to make any predictions this time. Thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to speaking to you again very soon as we get closer to the election here.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to it as well.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.